It's News 360 live here on TV3. Good evening and welcome. I am Ayisha, Yakubu.
And I am Martin Asiedu-Dartey. These are the headlines for the next 1 hour.
News 360 headlines is brought to you by
Flamingo Paint,
Pepsodent Charcoal and Pepsodent Herbal.
EcoBank.
After collapse of Cape Coast building kills 2 people, we engage Charlotte Blankson, a survivor, as she appeals for support.
Also coming up, Crops Research Institute launches initiative to revive endangered indigenous crops and trees.
Later, we explore the use of artificial intelligence in higher education in Ghana.
And on the international front, Iran's parliament approves decision to close the strategic Strait of Hormuz after U.S. airstrikes on its nuclear site. Details of all these stories and more, and we always love to hear from you, so be part of the show with your comments.
In the details this evening, the family of the victims of Saturday morning's building collapse at Landing Bridge in Cape Coast say the disaster has caused them immense trauma. Correspondent Thomas Khan visited 87-year-old Charlotte Blankson, one of the survivors, at a relative's house where she is seeking temporary shelter after losing her home to the heavy downpour.
Saturday, June 22nd, 2025, a dark day for Cape Coasters after 2 people lost their lives when a story building collapsed following several hours of heavy downpour. The historic house which collapsed once served as a home for family and their descendant for more than 2 centuries. Currently, survivors and family members affected by the disaster are seeking temporary shelter in the homes of friends and relatives. The news team visited 87-year-old Auntie Charlotte, one of the survivors. She is currently staying with a relative on Jackson Street, a suburb of Cape Coast. Auntie Charlotte told me she had lived in the collapsed house since childhood and expressed deep shock at the tragedy. She recounted how the building collapsed.
I could feel some parts of the building falling off, and one child also said she saw something similar. I told them the building was about to collapse, but they were optimistic. A moment after I left, I heard the building had collapsed.
She said the incident has traumatized the family with the loss of loved ones and property. Still, she is thankful to be among the survivors.
We've lost a lot, and it's very painful.
Another relative spoke about the emotional toll the disaster has taken on the family and appealed for support to help the other displaced victims.
All our things were destroyed. The few things that we could retrieve were also stolen by people who claimed to help us. If the assembly could help us, we will be very grateful.
Meanwhile, the news team gathered that a Cape Coast Assembly has begun demolishing some dilapidated buildings in the city.
Now let's go to that big global conversation and its impact on many countries, Ghana included in there. So Iran has accused the United States of betraying international diplomacy and undermining negotiations after a precision airstrike destroyed 3 of its nuclear facilities. The United States, however, maintains that the strikes were necessary to pursue peace and regional stability. Stanley Niblu analyzes the genesis of the conflict in this report.
Tensions in the Middle East have intensified as the war between Israel and Iran escalates, following direct military support from the United States for Israel. At dawn on Sunday, US B-2 bombers launched coordinated airstrikes on 3 Iranian nuclear sites, Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. American President Donald Trump, in a televised address, hailed the mission, warning of more devastating strikes should Iran retaliate.
Tonight I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier.
Despite assessments by the International Atomic Energy Agency and American officials indicating that Iran was not actively developing nuclear weapons, the American government sanctioned the assault on the Iranian sites. At a joint press briefing at the Pentagon, Chairman of the U.S. Joint Chiefs of Staff, Air Force General Dan Kane, outlined the scope and execution of the military strike.
This operation was designed to severely degrade Iran's nuclear weapons infrastructure. It was planned and executed across multiple domains and theaters with coordination that reflects our ability to project power globally with speed and precision at the time and place of our nation's choosing. This was a highly classified mission with very few people in Washington knowing the timing or nature of this plan. And it appears that Iran's surface-to-air missile systems did not see us. Throughout the mission, we retained the element of surprise.
While Iranian officials acknowledged that the targeted facilities were hit, they claimed the damage was not significant. Before the strikes, Iran's ambassador to the United Nations had warned of dire consequences if the United States aided Israel in any attack.
We will give the same response to the United States as we have gave to Israel. We will respond strongly and we will stop aggression from any side, be it Israel or United States. And we have given message to United States that we will respond very firmly and we will stop the aggression by anybody, including United States. Nobody should expect Iran to show any kind of restraint.
Back in the US, the decision to strike has sparked widespread domestic backlash, particularly from democratic lawmakers and citizens who argue that the president acted unconstitutionally. They contend that only Congress holds the authority to declare war.
But it is so grossly unconstitutional. All of you know that the only entity that can take this country to war is the U.S. Congress. The president does not have the right.
On June 12, 2025, Israel launched attacks on Iran's nuclear and military installations, killing top Iranian generals. Israeli officials claimed that the operation was necessary to prevent Tehran from acquiring nuclear capabilities and signaled intentions for regime change in Iran. Iran responded with barrage of ballistic missiles targeting Israeli cities, including Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, resulting in widespread destruction and dozens of casualties. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi says time for diplomatic talks with America is over.
Well, I think it is irrelevant to ask Iran to return to diplomacy. The US betrayed diplomacy. They betrayed negotiations. When at the middle of negotiations with us, they gave green light to Israelis to attack Iran's nuclear facilities. I think they have proved that they are not men of diplomacy, and they only understand the language of threat and force. And this is very unfortunate.
As the conflict intensifies and US deepens its involvement, questions loom over the potential entry of other global powers like Russia and China, raising fears of wider global confrontation. Iran has vowed to retaliate against the United States, though it remains unclear when and how such a response will occur. Global crude oil prices are projected to go up again in the coming week, and this could affect countries across the world. Stanley Niblo, TV3 News, Accra.
Right, so still on the same subject matter, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio on Sunday called on China to encourage Iran not to shut down the Strait of Hormuz after Washington carried out strikes on its nuclear facilities. Marco Rubio's comments on Fox News Sunday morning, that's the Futures with Maria Barrington, shows that the U.S.'s decision did not come as a surprise to especially those in the close circles, but it indicated that they are hopeful that the Strait of Hormuz shall not be closed because it is the only passageway that carries about 20% of global oil and gas flows. So what then does this mean if you look broadly at the conversation of how the war in Iran or the war between Israel and Iran could affect global oil prices and, countries far away like Ghana? Let's speak to Duncan Amwa, who is the Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers. Mr. Duncan Amwa, good evening. Thank you for joining us on TV3.
Me, TV3.
Right. To start with, how important or how strategic is the Strait of Hormuz when it comes to global crude oil trade?
Well, that's quite a significant route as far as the oil and gas space globally is concerned. If you are talking of a 20% inflow or outflow daily, it will tell you that any trouble on that particular water path could spell a lot of challenges as far as the petroleum space is concerned. Again, the narrowest part of the Strait of Hormuz is also controlled by Iran. And once the vessels or the cargoes get an indication that Iran is not in a very happy mood, and that any ballistic missile, any flying thing could hit anything on that passageway, then you would get a situation where the cargoes will be unwilling to use that route altogether, or you will not even get the cargoes. Anybody will not even volunteer to put their vessels on there. So this is one of the fallouts from the United States bombing last night that I think Marco Rubio, President Trump, J.D. Vance should have been minded of before undertaking whatever bombing that they did. At the end of the day, quite a consequence that this bombing that was occasioned last night foretells on all of us. And I don't think that it now lies with the United States of America and the Secretary of State to dictate or call any shot. As of yesterday evening around this time when the bombings had not been done, the U.S. would have been in a better place to call for a truce. But as it stands, it looks as though it's also taking sides in the conflict between Iran and Israel. So at this point, it becomes quite difficult to see how Marco Rubio or Vance or even Trump himself would have any say that the Iranian or the Chinese or the Russian counterparts will be willing to take anything serious for. But this is quite a fluid situation, and I'm suspecting that by 12 midday tomorrow, the oil markets would respond accordingly.
Could it be that the Western powers, or specifically the United States, did not consider the fact that you may be bombing Iran, but the Strait of Hormuz, where a number of oil vessels use, could have been on their blind side? They probably didn't pay attention to it. So now that they've bombed and are expecting military retaliatory attacks, Iran has decided to now go and close that, or close that strait, then the entire world, if it is affected, can now understand the impact of the war in the Middle East?
If you do listen to, as it were, 3 days ago when the U.S. intelligence officers, clearly in returning to their president or government, were certain that Iran was not posing a nuclear threat yet, and so it was not necessary for them to even get involved in this war altogether. Following which, of course, President Trump indicated that, well, they are wrong and he is right. I'm sure that he did not consider, any of the afterpelling that could be occasioned from going ahead to bomb Iran. And like I indicated, the narrowest part of the straits is controlled effectively by Iran. And I have heard some people say that Iran doesn't have the firepower to block the straits. I would say to them that is a joke. If a country 2,000 kilometers from Israel is able to launch attacks and is able to hit targets, you cannot say that the strait that borders them to the north, they would not have any impact at all. If for nothing at all, just a threat from Iran will be enough to divert cargo. If I own, say, a long, haul cargo, and you're asking me to use the strait at a time that the power that exists around or the country that is closest to is indicating it was going to do everything to make the place unusable. I think that the cargoes themselves will be very, very careful, even in deploying through those routes. So until we get some ceasefire, until probably Russia, until the BRICS bloc step in, until the United Nations probably step in, without, of course, the United States coming on board at this time, to be able to talk to Iran to withdraw, I do not see how the straits will be able to function as others are thinking. Iran has a lot of control as far as that Strait of Hormuz is concerned, and 20% of global oil supply or trade, 25% actually, going through that strait is awfully significant, and they could have a telling on prices. I wouldn't be surprised that even locally, your BDCs may take a cue and decide that, of course, now to bring cargo or to land cargo is going to take them such a huge effort, or will take them a lot of premiums to land cargo, and as such, prices will need to go up accordingly. I will not be surprised that even within the course of this week, we may end up feeling the impact here in Ghana. What the United States did yesterday was completely avoidable, and I think that it has made the world a lot messier than it was before that bombing was occasioned.
Mr. Amoah, thank you so much. Clearly, it looks far away, but then we are also feeling the brunt here locally. But thank you for putting it in perspective for us. Duncan Amoah is with COPEC Ghana.
Right, Martin. Moving on to one of our headliners. Have you ever wondered how artificial intelligence is changing the face of education? Do you think it has the power to revolutionize how we learn, teach, and think? As Ghana begins to experiment with AI in higher education, there's growing interest and caution about what this could mean for students, teachers, and the future of learning. Deborah Bamensa reports.
In a full-packed lecture hall at the University of Ghana, students gather not for a typical class, but for a session on artificial intelligence. AI is no longer the stuff of science fiction. From writing support to virtual tutoring, it is becoming a practical tool for education. Across the world, AI is shifting the way we teach and learn. With AI-powered adaptive learning platforms and intelligent tutoring systems, educators are moving from delivering content to facilitating personalized, engaging learning experiences. But with every opportunity comes challenges. All the promise of AI is exciting. Ethical concerns, data privacy, and over-dependence loom large.
A number of the students are finding the easy way out. When assignments are given them, they want to use AI to do that.
Some of the students are overusing it, so they can probably be able to submit assignments and then make it look like it's their own generated content. But it's not good because you actually leverage on an AI assistive tool So it would be nice, you should be able to give an in-text citation and a proper referencing.
Students have embraced the tools with varying levels of concern.
I was very slow with my assignments and my research. I would basically read books and Google stuff about a particular topic before doing my assignment. Since I discovered AI, I just put the complex topics or content in the chatbot, and then it would summarize it and make it easy for me to understand, fastening my learning process.
I use it as a supportive tool in my day-to-day work. When I have assignments and I have to do research, I do use it to get summaries of much literature so that I can have a fair understanding of what is being done in the field.
Looking at the way technology is advancing, AI must be inculcated to everyone.
One of the biggest questions is whether Ghana is ready to fully integrate AI into its education system. Though universities like University of Ghana are taking the lead, many public schools still lack the digital infrastructure to keep up.
Ghana as a country is not ready because of the kind of educational system that we are operating. Because we have been dealing more of memorization, that is why it has become more of a big challenge for us to even think of AI in our educational mainstream, because we are only going to further compound a group of young people who, if are not well trained, will only be memorizing, allowing the system to generate content for them, and then they just memorize or just even submit them the same way they got it.
And then there are the ethical dilemmas. How much data is collected from students? Who owns it? Can AI systems be trusted with student privacy?
Sometimes when you prompt the AI to generate some responses for you, you find out that the information it gives you are biased. Some of them are just wrong information, and some of them are just mislead you because the data that they are being trained with are biased. Mostly they are trained with data sets, foreign data sets. So sometimes when you want something that is locally based, it tends to be biased.
While AI may be a powerful tool, it is not a replacement for human interaction.
We are also training faculty to begin learning how to set what we call AI-resistant questions. And yes, there are some questions that AI cannot answer. Maybe you may not know, but trust me, AI cannot answer certain questions, especially questions that you put them in context.
In the end, education is not just about content. It is about connection, critical thinking, and creativity. The future of education in Ghana may well be digital, but it must also be ethical, inclusive, and balanced.
We certainly are in the era of AI, aren't we? Well, talking about AI and countries that are far advanced in developing it, one of them is China. And China's growing presence in Africa, fueled by investments, trade, and aid, is taking on a new dimension in education. Some schools on the continent, including Ghana, are teaching Mandarin, reflecting China's expanding cultural and economic influence. Does this have development issues, or does this new development have implications for Africa's linguistic and cultural landscape? There's more on this report by Portia Gabo.
China may be miles away from Africa, but its presence is being felt in many ways on the continent. In Ghana, apart from the study of French and Ghanaian languages, some private schools are inculcating Mandarin in their curriculum to enable pupils learn the Chinese language. For many, this is an opportunity for collaboration and development, as well as raising the career prospect of the younger generation.
My name is Kwame Akutopon, and my Chinese name is Wang Guaming. Chinese language is very important nowadays because of the influence that China is having all over the world. The Confucius has given us a great opportunity for every Ghanaian here to come and learn the language. There are educational opportunities that comes with this. there are business opportunities that come with it, and also even working in Chinese companies.
My name is Mafati Unnam Ali Dukatachi, and then my Chinese name is Chiawan. So I will urge everybody, all students across the globe, to take the learning of Chinese very seriously because it can help them.
In the 2016-17 academic year, the Confucius Institute started in the university. So I had some of my learners seeing the Chinese people around. They went there to speak to them. And afterwards, they came to tell me that they were very much interested in learning the Chinese language. So I did contact the then director, Professor Hu, and that is how it started.
Some critics argue that introducing Mandarin may not be the best approach given the shortage of teachers for Ghanaian languages. Others see it as a potential form of neocolonialism.
Students who are learning Mandarin or German or Russian or Japanese can have an advantage over other students who are not fluent in those areas. So then if there's an opportunity or scholarship or a working opportunity to go to China, Russia, Japan to work or to study, the fact that I can speak basic, language in these areas gives me the edge over my peers. And so I foresee it as an opportunity by and large than any form of neocolonialism.
From statistics and research, I understand a child can take up to 5 languages right from an early age. We do Fanti here. We are very serious with Fanti. Just like English, more periods are allocated for the teaching of Fanti. Unlike the Chinese that we took only 30 minutes in a week. Exposing the children to English, Fanti, French and Chinese. We are making the child fit well in the society.
The Confucius Institute, established to promote Chinese language and cultural exchange, have a significant presence globally with over 500 institutes worldwide.
What we have to do as a nation is try to bring, some, reinvigoration or re-innovation into our local languages, like what these, people are doing. Now they have Mandarin contest, they have the Japanese speech and prize contest, and so forth. So what are we also doing? Do we have the tree contest, the Ga Ewe? These are the innovative ways that we can, make our national dialect very famous also.
During his vetting, Supreme Court Judge nominee Justice Philip Bright-Mensah suggested that judges assigned to legal mining zones be given training in the Chinese language. Africa's relationships with global powers like China certainly offers a window of opportunity and collaboration, but the continent must also make a conscious effort not to neglect its heritage and linguistic diversity, ensuring that external influences complement rather than compromise its unique identity.
Still staying on education, a critical shortage of basic infrastructure, notably desks and bed frames, is severely impacting teaching and learning at Ikumfi Amayao Senior High School. The situation is dire, with 4 students sharing single-person desks, some huddling on benches or resorting to makeshift arrangements due to the acute lack of classroom furniture.
The situation at Ikumfi Amayao Senior High School is dire, with 4 students sharing mono desk and some bending over benches while writing an internal exam. This extends beyond exams halls. In the dormitories, the absence of bed frames means numerous students are left with no option but to sleep on the bed floor, raising serious questions about student welfare and academic focus at the school. The challenges faced by students at the Kumfiameyao Senior High School are profound and impacting their academic performance and overall well-being.
Talking about the furnitures in this school, it is very, very disturbing in such a way that some students have to pair with other students, their colleagues, so that they can get a place to sit. For instance, when we are about to write our exam or during the examination, students lack chairs to sit on personally to write their exam. The beds are not also enough at the dormitory, so some of the students lie down, like lay their beds on the floor and lie down on it.
Parents of these students are expressing deep frustration over the persistent furniture crisis, especially given that many have already contributed financially to address this problem. We're there when the headmaster informed us that the furnitures are not enough, and so parents should contribute some monies to help do some of the furnitures for the students. We're all asked to pay 300 cedis, but up till now, these furnitures are yet to even come. These monies have been taken multiple times, but we are yet to see any outcome of the monies that have been taken. This will have a lot of negative effect on the students, because this is a situation where one student is supposed to sit per desk, but here is the situation where 4 students are sitting per desk. So if all their answers are the same, who will you blame? The National PTA Secretary, Raphael Kojo-Kafson, criticized the lack of accountability, noting that the allegations leveled against the headmaster will be investigated and the deserved punitive action will be served.
It's allowed for parents to contribute to the development of education, because we believe that as PTAs, we don't exist in communities in a vacuum. We have a corporate social responsibility. There are a lot of punitive measures that must be applied. First of all, it must be established that monies have been collected for an intended purpose, and we must know how much is involved, and to find out who took custody of the money and why those funds were not used for the intended purpose. And for that matter, if the person is a staff of the Ghana Education Service, we have 2 options as a national PTA: to report to the GES so that they will look at their own code of conduct. So they will use that one to probably punish that person. The other side of it is for us as national PTA to go into those issues and pick up the issue within the laws and the remedies of Ghana to report such a person to a law enforcement agency. We can report that person to ECO. We can, because this more or less deliberately it's a crime against us. So definitely these are some of the remedial measures that must be taken.
You're still watching News 360 on TV3. I'm sure that many of you are excited about the string of stories we've brought to you this evening. Do let us know in the comment section. Stay with us. We have many more for you after the break. Welcome back to News 360. Let's deep into some other stories now. The future of Ghana's waste management sector is facing fresh challenges following government's decision not to renew its youth employment agency contract with Zoomlion. While no official communication has been sent to the company, the move has stirred debate over how the country handles sanitation and who gets to manage it. In this report, we explore the ongoing discussions, hear from industry players, and examine what this could mean for sanitation in Ghana.
Ghana's waste management system is once again under scrutiny, not just for how garbage is collected, but for who gets to clean up. For nearly 2 decades, private sanitation company Zoomlion Ghana Limited has played a central role in street cleaning and waste collection through a government-run model under the Youth Employment Agency. But that may be changing. President Mahama has criticized the current centralized system for managing sanitation and waste.
We must therefore implement a more effective model that transfers full responsibility for waste management and sanitation to MMDAs. You will receive guidelines for transparently selecting your sanitation service providers through a competitive process. You will be fully responsible for the process and also fully responsible for the outcome.
Government says the contract, which expired in 2024, will not be renewed, opening the door to a new era of competitive bidding. No formal letter has been issued according to Zoomlion.
We cannot do anything against government when government takes a decision. So we are open to the competitive procurement landscape. If government opens that, we will also be part of that.
The company insists it has always worked in line with directives from its stakeholders. Zoomlion has rejected claims it arbitrarily sets salaries or holds on to funds.
We don't own the contract and we cannot decide finally on an amount that we will use to pay the staff. Fortunately, our beneficiaries are written to, and every detail they need to understand what is ahead of them is given them.
Meanwhile, the Environmental Service Providers Association, ESPA, which represents private sanitation companies, says it is not opposed to a more competitive bidding process.
What His Excellency have said is in the right direction, and that has always been the norm anyway. So I don't see how different it is from the previous ones. It's when it's done, you apply, you qualify, you go through a process, then eventually the best person is given out to the contractor who gets it.
The association also plans on serving a petition to the president to reconsider the decision.
I'm also going to send a petition to His Excellency that he should also know that at the end of the day, what the private sector is doing is a lot. The private sector has created jobs for over 50,000 informal sector and 10,000 formal sector people.
This conversation comes at a critical moment for Ghana's waste. Many assemblies still struggle with basic collection services, especially in rapidly growing towns. Open dumping is common, bylaws often go unenforced, and while some private companies are piloting recycling projects, the country lacks a coordinated long-term waste strategy. For some, the shake-up could be an opportunity to reform. For others, it's a moment of uncertainty, especially for the thousands of sanitation workers unsure what the future holds.
Terminating the contract is unfair since there is no other alternative at the moment. We don't know how best the Municipal Assembly can do it.
It's a good step for an accountability. Given that the workers work and then they are not being paid the due money they are supposed to be paid. So it's a good step for accountability.
What happens next depends on more than one company or contract.
To some more news this evening, the Ghana Police Service has intensified its fight against illegal mining activities with a series of intelligence-led operations in the western region. A total of 23 suspects were arrested across multiple sites during the latest coordinated crackdown. In the Wasa-Ekropon district, police targeted operations along the Wasa-Ekropon-Japa-Dadiesu road, leading to the arrest of 23 individuals. At Wasa-Japa, The team raided the Obeng Mining Group site and disabled 64 Shanfan machines suspected to be used in illegal mining. Further action was taken at Wassa, Dominase, where officers responded to a tip-off about illegal mining near fuel stations. 7 Shanfan machines, washing boards, 3 water pumps, and a pickaxe were recovered during the Dominase operation. In Asankregua, police retrieved 3 water pumps and 4 motorbikes from a site near a 1 District 1 factory building suspected to be used for galamsey. All arrested suspects are currently in police custody and assisting with investigations.
Now, in spite of a population of over 2 million, health facilities in the Western region lack intensive care units, ICUs, forcing them to refer critical cases elsewhere. To address this challenge, the Western Regional Minister, Joseph Nelson, is collaborating with the Takoradi Hospital to repurpose a female ward into an ICU.
The Takoradi Hospital, also known as the European Hospital, has a rich history dating back to 1929, when it was built and commissioned to serve the medical needs of Europeans who came to the Gold Coast to construct the Takoradi Harbour. After their departure, the hospital was taken over by the Ghana Health Service and has since served as a public facility. The Takoradi Hospital has evolved significantly, serving as a crucial healthcare provider in Takoradi and beyond. However, it faces several challenges. Notably, the Accident and Emergency Unit, which was reactivated for the 2008 CAN Games, remains incomplete, having stalled at 60% completion. It also lacks an intensive care unit, a typical situation in the whole of the Western region. To address this, the Western Regional Minister, Joseph Nelson, is collaborating with the Takoradi Hospital to repurpose a female ward into a state-of-the-art ICU to enhance the region's critical care capabilities.
It's really critical that we have that facility in the region. Western region is so very big, and to think that we don't have such a facility anywhere in the region, it's sad indeed. And this goes to the heart of health delivery in the region. And so something urgent has to be done. And that is the reason why I decided to come to this facility.
Medical Superintendent of the hospital, Dr. George Pepra, has welcomed the initiative, noting that the region desperately needs ICU facilities, as patients often have to be referred to Cape Coast, but this still struggles with inadequate facilities.
Over the years, what we do mainly is to refer such cases, but we know the situation. Referring such patients becomes difficult. Because such facilities, in the whole country, there are not that many. And in the Western region, for example, we don't have any of such facility here. So the closest is Cape Coast. And most of the time you call, you don't even get to send the patient. Since I've been here, it was only once that I was successful in sending such a patient to Cape Coast, because they too, probably they don't have enough beds for such cases.
Also, in a bid to curb deforestation and safeguard Ghana's natural resources, the Crops Research Institute has launched an initiative to revive endangered indigenous crops and trees. The project, which focuses on restoring degraded ecosystems and preserving biodiversity, also aims to provide alternative livelihoods for communities living near forest reserves.
The intervention comes as Ghana faces increasing pressure on its forests from illegal logging, agricultural expansion, and climate change. By promoting the cultivation of near-extinct native crops and trees, the Crops Research Institute hopes to reduce reliance on forest resources while strengthening food security.
The challenge with agriculture is that if you are not careful, you do industrial agriculture where you focus on only the major crops, and then you forget about your minor indigenous crops. So this whole project is about agroforestry and also making sure that our minor crops are not lost.
Under the Embrace project, farmers and residents in forest fringe communities will receive training in nursery establishment, sustainable agroforestry, and value-added processing to diversify their income. At a stakeholders engagement, principal investigator for the project, Dr. Clement Pepra, indicated that the approach not only protects the environment, but also creates economic opportunities for rural households.
The whole idea is to sort of limit forest entries, and by limiting forest entries, we are giving the forest a rest to sort of regenerate on its own. And then we are also providing the resources that these farmers would have gone to extract from the forest in their farmsteads. So that is where we are bringing in the tree planting aspect, and then also bringing in the neglected crops aspect. These are very important components of our food security systems that we have in the country. And of course, the end goal is also to contribute our quota to climate change mitigation, and also having resilience.
The Forestry Commission has lauded the initiative.
Yes, in some places, even Wawa, Saiba, and then the Huma and all are no more available over there because of overexploitation. And this, I mean, the illegal exploitation of our species, of our wood trees, without any replacement. But hopefully, now that some of these programs are coming on board, we are replacing them, and even through Trees for Life project.
Some farmers in the participating communities were convinced the intervention will be beneficial to them. Cocoa was once abundant in our communities, but its decline has become concerning. That's why we fully support interventions like this to revive it. We've also learned that planting trees on our farms provide valuable shade for our crops, improving their growth. With global efforts intensifying to combat climate change, Ghana's push to revive indigenous species could serve as a model for sustainable development.
This is News 360 live here on TV3. Let's bring you some sports news now. So insecticide spray and coil.
Hello there, good evening and welcome to the sports segment here on News 360. My name is Bill Ishe. Now, Kenan Yildiz scored one of the best goals of the FIFA Club World Cup so far as Juventus beat Moroccan side with that by 4-1. The victory leaves Juventus on the brink of qualification to the knockout stages, and they face Manchester City in their final group game on Thursday, 26th June.
Things to deal with. Thuram trying to squeeze it through, and it's tucked away by Yildiz, and they're off and running early again. Juventus here. One of the older ones at 25. Oh, well, that could be the goal of the tournament so far. They're not going to take this one away from him. Rapid. Maybe now he's going to get something here from Lorch. They do. The counter-attacks that they were talking about yesterday. Play 8 passes in the penalty area to score. Here's Skalimwani. Yildiz, he's in, and he's done it again. What a good player he is. And Barra decision.
Moving on, a 2-day intensive tennis workshop aimed at sharpening the skills of players and coaches in Ghana has concluded in Accra. The clinics, which were led by former president of the U.S. Tennis Association, Katrina Adams, and Olympian Roger Smith, marks the start of A10 Africa Tennis Foundation clinics in Ghana. Katrina Adams and some participants spoke with Free Sports.
I'm looking at this young talent here. So much talent out here, the eagerness behind it. These kids are out here, they're working hard, good stroke development, a lot of athleticism, and a lot of talent. So for me, I'm just looking to see what we have here in Ghana and to see the eagerness out here, their intensity, and see them having fun. You know, I mean, these kids are young right now, so it's a long way to go to see how far they can go.
So while I'm playing this program, some things I'm learning is that, well, when I'm hitting the ball, I should take my time because I'm just trying to qualify to go to the
I'm learning how to volley because most of the times when I go to games, I find it hard to volley. And I'm also learning how to brush up the balls so I don't hit them out.
That's it for the sports segment here on News 360. My name is Bill Ishe, and entertainment is up next.
This news segment is brought to you by GTP Lifestyle
and Napa Foods. Heaven Black Insecticide Spray and Coil.
Powered by 3 Entertainment.
In entertainment news this evening, scores of enthusiastic fans gathered on the forecourt of TV3 to witness the thrilling grand finale of Perfect Match Extra. The announcement of the winning couple sparked jubilant celebrations among the energized crowd outside the studio. Moments after the finale, several excited fans shared their joy and reactions with 3 Entertainment.
At exactly 7:30 p.m. on Saturday evening, Studio B of TV3 was buzzing with anticipation as fans rallied behind their favorite couples. For the past 10 weeks, Big Mama's house has been a whirlwind of emotions, passion, heartbreak, drama and moments of self-discover as couples battled it out for the ultimate prize.
I love you too.
I've been telling you not to say it too.
I love you more. I love you more.
No.
Oh, I love you more.
Oh, babe, today if I'm cooking like it, I'll do the chicken.
Oh, wow.
Following the emotional eviction of Bogdan and Naya, Van Dijk and Larissa, the competition came down to the final couples, Perry and Condon, Oheneba and Irama. The night was made even more electrifying by show-stopping performances from Sefa, keeping the crowd on the edge of their seats. And then came the moment everyone had been waiting for. After an intense and emotional 10-week journey, Oheneba and Irama were crowned champions of Perfect Match Extra Season 3.
One couple has proven that they were more than just a match, more than just a perfect match. And that couple is Oheneba and Irama!
The announcement was met with ecstatic cheers from the energized fans outside. Several fans couldn't hold back their excitement and shared their reactions with 3 Entertainment.
Do you think that ship will sail?
Of course it will sail. Of course it will sail. Like, even if it doesn't sail, it will sail. What is written is what? It's written. We don't need to brag. Like, it's obvious. They are both into each other.
Seriously, with what I've seen so far, they are so much in love, and I know they are not going to disappoint us. They are really in love, and some of us we stand with the real ones, and Oheneba and Irama are the real ones. That's the fact. All of them, they've done well. They've done really, really well. But Oheneba and Irama, they stand tall. What is written is written. What's that? What's that? Kayabeda.
Well, clearly that is entertainment news. Right, time now for international news.
Iran's National Parliament on Sunday approved the closure of Strait of Hormuz as a retaliatory step after US bombed its 3 nuclear facilities. Blocking the strait will have far-reaching impact on global economy as over 20% of world's oil moves through this route. If the closure goes ahead, it will also disrupt trade flows, send oil prices shooting up, and potentially destabilizing the global economy. The Strait of Hormuz is a narrow channel between Iran and the Omani Musandam Peninsula and connects the Persian Gulf to the Gulf of Oman. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has called on China to encourage Iran to not shut down the Strait of Hormuz. Ukraine's top military commander has vowed to increase the scale and depth of strikes on Russia, saying Kyiv will not sit idly by while Moscow prolonged its 3-year invasion. Diplomatic efforts to end the war have.
And that's how we bring the bulletin to an end. Thank you so much for watching. I am Martin Asiedu-Dartey.
And I'm Ayisha Yakubu. Good evening.
Yeah,